Okay, for today, we are reviewing for this test on quadratic formula and, sorry, not just quadratic formula, forms of a quadratic equation. And so this one says factor it. I know what factored looks like, but this is a kind of a tricky one. Stop screwing around, please. So this should have an x and an x. That's the easy part. What do you think it is? Yeah. -1 and +1, because when you multiply them, they make -1. And when you do the outside and the inside, there's no middle term. So you are perfect. That's correct. You should be writing by now. That's number 5. You need something to write with? If you do, then borrow one and leave me some collateral. And moving on to number 6. Number 6. It says x squared plus 4x plus 4. You have to be able to factor. And if I've said this once, I've said it 100 times. Factoring is top 5 things in all of math in high school. It's like one of the really, really, really important things you're going to have to know next year. No matter which class you go to, geometry, algebra, whatever, there's going to be factoring. Okay, so then I got an x and an x. WR. What are these two numbers? What's your best guess? 2 and 2 is an excellent guess. Let's check and see if you're right. Because that's the way I would do it if I were you. I would just check and see if I did it right. So the first is x squared. These make a 4. How can I check the last part? You check and see if the thing that sort of makes a goofy looking smile, see, if those make 4x. 2x and 2x make 4x, so you did it right. Good job. Good job. All right. Moving on. Let's do something that isn't factored form. Look on the next page. Turn the page, please. We're on to 25. We already did 14. We're going to do 13. I know it's an unlucky number, but it's one of the only problems that's like that. We need to practice it. So, x plus 5 squared plus 9. Thank you. And what does the direction say we're supposed to do? Convert this to... Oh, I wish it was just find the vertex, because what would the vertex be? It'd be so simple. -5, 9. Good. But that's not what the question was. The question was to multiply it all out. Standard form means multiply it all out. So you go like this. All right. I want everybody to do this on your own. I'm going to pause for a second while you give it a try. Okay. So by now, hopefully, you have done the first, which is x squared. And the outside and the inside is a 5x and a 5x. And then the 5 times 5 made 25. That's what you should have had. But if you were extra good, you put these together already. And you had x squared plus 10x. 5 and 5 makes 10. Plus 34 is correct. That is standard form. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. You're arguing about something stupid. I will send you in the hall if you keep this up. All right, a lot of people had it. Good. All right. So that was number 13, and that was a different kind where you had to multiply it out. I warned you that might be one of the toughest kinds on the test, especially if you throw enough stretch factor in front of it. All right, let's move on to number 19. Number 19. Average age of the foot soldier in Vietnam. True. They were only 19 years old on average. Minus 4x plus 3. You can look it up. Average age of a foot soldier in Vietnam. And now just to clarify, that takes out the officers. Okay, not the officers weren't the foot soldiers, right? If you take out the officers, who on average are older than the other guys, the regular guys, not the officers. The average kid was only 19 over there. All right. So anyway, on number 19, the vertex. This is not the kind where you find the two numbers and you average them. So do you remember the formula? I'm going to pause for a second while you rack your brain for that. He's got x equals -b over 2a, and you are right. Nice job. Okay. Now, what is b?
B is -4.
So I'm going to replace this B. Notice I just put a parenthesis around the B because a lot of people think there's already a negative there, so I'll just put a 4. Nope. You put in a -4 right there. Notice that'll end up causing 2 negatives.
So that's a +4.
+4. And on the bottom, that A, I like to make the empty bones and then drop in what goes in the rib cage there. That's a 1, you're right. So this becomes -4, which is 4 over 2, which is?
-2.
2. All right. That is not the vertex, but it's part of the vertex. And hopefully by now, we've done this enough times that you know what to do to get the other part. You put it up in there. That's correct. So I'll pause while you do that. All right. This is the kind of thing where I don't know whether or not you're good at it or not, because it depends on the kid totally. And some of you are, and some of you are not. If your life depended on it, which I know life rarely depends on math for you guys, but honestly, like there will be people who are astronauts and people in the hospital who are on different medications where if somebody screws up math, they will die. Okay, so that happens. In fact, there's thousands of deaths per year which are based on somebody screwing up medications. And a lot of times it's something simple, like they're supposed to times it by 10 and they times it by 100 by accident. They move the decimal over an extra spot, and an oops can cause somebody to die. Anyway, I know your life doesn't depend on it, but some people do. How can you die from medication? If you take too much of a lot of different medications. If you take too much of the medication, it can kill you. All right. That's one of the reasons that they have more robots heading towards medicine, is that the robots are distributing the medications because they don't by accident give them meds to the wrong person. You know what I mean? Like you give a certain med to one person, it keeps them alive. Give a certain med to another person and it kill them. And so they have facial recognition software on these little bots that go around the hospitals, and then they can check and like make sure that Mrs. Johnson is the one that's getting the pills. All right. So anyway, you should have put a 2 in there and got a 4. And you should put a 2 in there and you get -8. And then it says +3. If you're really bad at that kind of stuff, you need to trust your calculator for it. In this class, we allow you to use a calculator. So 4 minus the 8 makes -4. -4 plus the 3. It is not 7. That's where you better use the calculator. -1 is the final answer.
All right, thank you so much.
All right. So that was number 19 and an example of finding the vertex using that little formula. A recap on the formula. It was, some people were saying it was b squared. It is not. What was that formula again? -b over 2a. Correct. I want to erase that. -b over 2a. You're going to need that formula. Guarantee you. Okay. Now one more kind. Everybody flip to the back page, the very back page. And they want, number 27, easiest problem in the world, so is 28. Because they just want the vertex. Yeah, look at it. Say it again, number 27, you're saying it right. Keep going. What's the vertex of that thing? -211, that's it. You guys see that? Because the equation, just for those at home, looks like this. 3 times x plus 2. Why did you say -2 if it says +2? You can't trust the thing on the inside. That's correct. And so the vertex is all they asked for. The vertex is that and that, except you can't trust this part. So -2, comma 11. Okay. So that's a major league review. Now, what you guys need to understand is it's easy to do it when the teacher's doing it on the board. And you got somebody else to chime in like, oh, you just do this. It's a lot harder when it's just you and the piece of paper. That's what it's going to be for the rest of the time in class. I want you to work hard for about the next 5 minutes, and then you're going to have a break.